Believe in yourself and unleash that power. It's do or die time. So draw out all your strength.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. I love the film. My first question is for Chris and Kyle. How does it feel to finally get like a really meaty story for Gohan and Piccolo after like kind of playing this, background in Dragon Ball Super?
Well, it's been a minute, right, Chris? It's been like literally like two decades or more.
Yeah, it's especially for Gohan. I mean, if we're being really honest, Piccolo has spent a lot of time, as a kind of a sort of a live-in caretaker for Gohan's family to some degree. But boy, Gohan has really just not shined in anything. And it's good to finally see him really kind of step up in this. It's amazing.
Yeah. He's shown his chops in terms of having, he's very smart, and he's a good dad. He's a good, brother, I assume. He's a good husband. But, it'll be nice to have an opportunity to see Gohan be great again.
Make Gohan great again.
That's true.
All right. Samuel?
Sorry about that, you guys. Just letting you guys know, you guys are all icons to me. I appreciate what you guys have done as actors, and for the English dub translation for Japanese animation, you guys have done everything. So I appreciate you guys so much for doing this.
Thank you.
In terms of you, Chris, hey again, good to see you again.
Hey, I recognize you.
Like he said, it's good to see. It's almost like this movie is Piccolo and Gohan's movie more so than anything. Like Vegeta and Goku are there and they get to do a little bit of interesting thing. I love one thing they did with Vegeta. But with Piccolo in this one, he's finally getting not just like an opportunity, but he's given an arc. They're progressing him. Like you talked about Gohan, but Piccolo, like he's got a history since Dragon Ball. And so for you to see like that character evolve and getting more representation, like what does it mean to you, Chris, to see him evolve in this way? And I think the movie in and of itself is about legacy, which I'll get to that later.
It's actually funny you said that because I just answered another question about how Gohan has kind of been the one that hasn't ever had kind of his time to shine in a long time. But now that you mention it, I haven't really thought about this, but Piccolo hasn't had like any sort of upgrade for a long time. Not since he fused with, I guess, Kami was the last time that he might have actually had any sort of like noticeable, like mystical or any sort of power increase of any sort. I mean, he's always been training, but he's more of a, he's basically become Earth's last real trainer, because everybody else is off in space doing whatever they do. And Piccolo is actually grounded and he's like on Earth, and he's become, in a weird way, he's become as human as Vegeta has. And I love his relationship with Gohan, and I love how much he roots for Gohan. He just has become like such a close family member to him. So in that way, the movie is very special. What you see what we see with Piccolo is not him necessarily even. There's some great fighting stuff in it, and there's some amazing moments, which you're aware of. But what's interesting is to see Piccolo be faced with a big series of problems that he has no choice but to kind of solve on his own. And it's cool to see him faced with all these challenges and see how he handles it, because he's always so cool about it.
Okay, Shiraz, Samir, and Zion.
Hey guys, we're the Faruqi brothers, so family affair style interview. So very excited.
Now.
Yeah, the resemblance is there.
Well, no, I was looking at the last name. Actually, I finally got the Faruqi part. I didn't see that at first. Yeah.
No, but this is actually a great moment for us because, like Samuel mentioned, that you guys have been a huge part of our childhood. So hearing the voices of our childhood in front of us, interviewing them is an absolute honor. So thank you so much for sitting with us.
Thank you.
My first question is for you, Sean.
Yeah.
I mean, after 20 plus years in this franchise, how do you as an actor keep the voice of Goku fresh and then also look at the material fresh year after year? Did you personally get tired of it, or is it always exciting for you every time you get a chance to go to Goku again?
Well, part of it comes from my classical music and music background training. So a big part of keeping the voice fresh is making sure you're using the right vocal techniques in the booth, which I was a brass player for many, many years in orchestras. And when you go to classical music school and you learn to play concertos, one of the things you learn is you're going to play this concerto 1,000, 10,000 times. And every time you play it, you got to make it sound like it's fresh and wonderful. So my mindset is always, you know, when I'm playing Goku, my mindset's always, I'm always where he is. And I doesn't matter what I think if I've had to, you know, tell the same original Dragon Ball story between multiple video games and 2 different series between Kai and unless it's a great story that you can listen to over and over. So it doesn't, you know, and as far as keeping it fresh, any freshness that, you know, any story changes or character changes or freshness oftentimes comes from the mind of Akira Toriyama himself. As we noticed in Super, you know, it's there's more fun involved. It's kind of a Super reminds me of a mashup between original Dragon Ball and Z, that you've got grid epic battles, but you have a lot more slice of life, a lot more comedy. Goku's a little bit goofier, etc. And I don't have any control over that. So I'm always digging into the source material and trying to find, you know, whatever Akira Toriyama says publicly on it and whatever. And I have my own, you know, attitude toward the character. So it's part technique, and then it's part just like a mental attitude towards performance art, which is, no matter how many times you go on stage, it's got to be fresh every time. And every time I go in the booth, it's like being on stage. So that's kind of how I approach it.
Great. We can go back to Kevin then.
So I guess the other Farouk brother is not going to ask anything.
You want to jump to Xian and yeah, Xian, jump in.
I was waiting for you, Sean, in that last part to go like, "Oh man, I hate it. It's boring. Like, I just step in there and just kind of do whatever.
Whatever. I'm
Goku, man. Well, I don't have to think about that.
No, I'm
joking. I'm joking.
I know you are. I know you are. It's all good.
So I guess this one will be for Kyle. Obviously, playing a character for so many years, you build a connection with the character, and you have certain ideas of where you want the character to go and the story to go for him. With Gohan, we've seen after like the Cell Saga and his story, he kind of always goes through this roller coaster where he leaves the fighting behind, and then within the series, he has to boost up again with Ultimate Gohan, the Majin Buu saga, and then in Dragon Ball Super again, and now in his arc in this film. For you playing Gohan, do you want him now, after this film, to continue focusing on fighting and making that an importance just as much as his academic side, or do you not mind him going back and forth, back and forth?
I think him adding that dimension to his plate is totally doable, and I am all for it because it's been a long wait, as any fan knows, to see him focus on academics or his marriage or parenthood or whatnot. And these aspects of family are obviously very, very important, but in a show that is driven by these big over-the-top spectacle action things, and he is such a pivotal member of that whole team, it's great to have an opportunity to show him expand his repertoire and say, hey guys, I'm here. I can contribute. I'm good for it. You know, little things like that.
I just realized there's 3 Faruqi brothers in this room. There's a third one. And the other one started talking, and I'm like, wait a second. He was over there. And then he's a different guy. And then there's one in the middle who looks like he's moved to tears by Kyle's answer. Samir looks like he's moved to tears. I think it's beautiful,
yeah,
Samir.
I get that a lot. A lot of people say I always look like I'm crying.
But it's beautiful. I mean, the chicks dig it, man. I'm sorry. We're distracted. Let's keep going. Sorry, Kyle. I was tripping on 3 Faruqis. I didn't realize. Sorry.
That is all good.
Yes.
That is all good. But yes,
great answer, Kyle.
That's my answer. I'm sticking to it.
My question is more of a broader question for any of you guys can take it. Do you guys get a sense that excitement around Dragon Ball will continue to grow over the next decade? Because so many franchises suffer from audience fatigue. What is it about Dragon Ball that you guys find unique and that keeps the ball rolling?
I'm going to answer first because I jumped in, but I think I've thought about this a lot because I was asked this question when I first got on the show, and I didn't realize the real power of Dragon Ball and Akira Toriyama. And having been part of the franchise for so long, he is just a genius when it comes to recycling old characters, making them fresh, doing tangents, doing a different curveball here and there, mixing it up. I mean, it really boils down to Akira Toriyama Sensei, and he is. I have noticed, and I'm sure Chris and Kyle would agree, this is a brand that should have theme parks everywhere. That could be, just beyond like just a staple, just like any other big brand like that is in the world. It's pretty much that right now. I just think it has room to go up. It's there's so many characters, and it's such a rich universe, and then there's the generational aspects of it with potential of the children and the grandchildren doing storylines, like we have here with Gohan and Piccolo, and even Goten. Now we've seen tween Goten, and is that a spoiler? Sorry, let me give a spoiler that we have tween Goten and tween Trunks on the movie. But anyway, I'm going to shut up now. Chris, Kyle, you answer that. Sorry. I'm trying to give a good answer here. I'm just, I think
it was a very good answer, Sean. Like, I think the Dragon Ball has had its evolution kind of slowly enough for there not to be a ton of fatigue. It's not like they're releasing a new film every year, or they just constantly bombarding us with one new series after the next. I think they've been taking their time and doing it right. I'd love to see some more. I think there's a lot of people, and we meet a lot of fans out there who would love to see more Super happen.
The biggest request I get, Chris, is for Dragon Ball GT, for more of those elements to appear in Z, particularly Super Saiyan 4 Goku.
Sure.
I get that request a lot. And since we're seeing Pan, which is borrowed from G, I'm wondering if they're going to start borrowing from non-canon like they've done a bit, and maybe bring back Launch like you keep telling me about,
Resurrection L. I keep pitching everybody on that idea. Now, I think that Dragon Ball has a lot of room to grow, and plus these characters mean so much to people.
Oh yeah,
they're connected. It's tattooed on people's bodies. Like it means so, like these characters and these long shows like these have helped people cope through the most painful times in their lives. Like these are people who've dealt with long illnesses or bad family situations at home, and these are shows that like really have traveled with people's family and moved from a father and watching it with the son, and they're. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon, because I think really the sky's the limit. And from what I'm seeing of the manga these days, there's a bunch of great material out there still that's yet to be seen.
Yeah.
Yep. You're seeing.
Go back to. Sorry. Continue.
I was just going to say, you see families go to conventions, and you see the father, the mothers, and the children, and they're all cosplaying together, or some even name their kids after characters from the show. So yeah, that's some sort of that is a level of dedication right there.
There are folks that have uncomfortably have asked us to tattoo our signatures on their arms. I mean, I don't do the tattoo work myself. Like, for example, Kyle has my signature on his arm. No, he doesn't. But Kyle's got a tattoo of Sean Shell's.
People have asked me to do that before, and I've thought about having some sort of fake contract that says, like, if I ever need some sort of organ transplant, that I have a right to choose from anyone that my signature is on. It's basically authenticated their bodies.
Authenticated. But Samir, you make a great point. Like, it's a great question. And I personally believe, having been on it this long, that it absolutely has the power and the breadth to endure for decades to come, long after I'm gone, easily. I hope it does.
All right, let's get back to Kevin.
All right. You're all, iconic in not just for Dragon Ball, but just across so many properties in general. Of all the characters you perform as, who would win in a fight, like a tournament style fight?
So we can only pick characters that we play fighting against themselves. Is that or a character? Okay,
yeah.
Chris, you go first, because I can't even think on that one. Right?
Heck, with these new powers, I'm thinking Piccolo could take a lot of people, man. Like with some of the skills he develops in this movie, I think we could. I think Piccolo, he'd hold his own for once. It's really hard to compare. I have a difficult time comparing characters from different universes, and like I'll have to kind of default back to Sean whenever people ask him about, like, he gets the Superman Goku comparison all the time, and
I do.
And Sean, his final answer is like, well, I mean, Goku's an alien, so I mean,
he's
technically,
a god,
right?
He's a god, is what I say. God mode.
He's a god now, right?
So there you go. Omnipotent. Bingo. It's hard to compare. I'm trying to think of any other character I played that it would. I'm trying to think of like characters I played on Yu-Gi-Oh or Yu-Gi-Oh GX or.
I think Piccolo would beat Yamcha, for sure.
Yeah, I think everybody.
And I think Vegeta could beat the Turtle and Bubbles, so easily.
And I know King Kai would beat. I'm waiting for King Kai to have a real fight, like Yoda style real fight. You know.
Hey Gohan, hey Gohan. Hey Kyle,
Gohan.
do you think that Gohan could beat the narrator?
Dude, that's a tough call because the narrator is the most powerful character in the whole universe because he starts and stops time with each episode.
That's right. He just says next time.
Previously, last time. Like, oh man, it's over.
It's like he knows the answers too. He even names the episodes what it's going to be. It's impressive.
He's got a crystal ball.
Yep. Samuel, do you have another question?
Yeah, absolutely. Just for room for thought, I think that All Might would win. But that's just me. So, but no. With this film, I started to realize something that I'm 35 now, and anime now it's for everybody. And so the transition of the way that CG animation versus 2D animation. When you guys did, the Broly movie, it was a really interesting mixture of the two. But then I'm also a purist. Like I love 2D animation, something about it stylistically. But then this one was primarily, for the most part, CG. But I had to take myself out of it and realize like maybe this will cater to the new generation. Maybe this is the new legacy for the way stylistically this should go. But I was curious from y'all's perspective, where are you guys with it? Like, are you guys kind of feeling like me that it's like whatever excites the fans, whatever makes them happy is where you guys want to go with it? Or is it kind of like, you know what, like let's do a mixture of the two? Because I think that there's something that we don't want to get away from, but at the same time, we want to, maintain evolving. So I was curious y'all's perspective on it.
I would be concerned. I heard about the CGI before we did it, and I was a bit concerned. And when I first saw the trailer, I felt like it lended a certain weight and gravitas. The reason I'm glad you asked it from this perspective, because since we're dubbing the show, I divine a lot of what I'm doing emotionally from the animation, which inspires me and lets me know a lot of data about how to perform, what to yell, how to inflect. I mean, how hard to yell, how intense to do things. And my concern was when I heard about this, I'm like, okay, well, what will really be the test for me is when I jump in the booth, if I can't work with this, emotionally as an actor, it'll be a problem. And once I saw the trailer, I felt it lended a real gravitas to it. And I saw the potential, particularly in an action show where you need to do a lot of actiony things that are 360 panning. I was even having fantasies about like, wow, with CGI, you could go inside a Kamehameha and shoot from in there and spin it around and then come out. There's so many cool things you can do. Having dubbed the film, it was a seamless transition for me. Having watched it twice, I don't see any problem with the flap or any problem with anything that's going on. And I think it really adds a three-dimensional weight to the characters that we haven't really had the chance to really effectively see before, with the exception of the video games. So on the one hand, I definitely see your point as a purist. I get that. And I think probably, the fusion of the two is really probably the best. But as an actor, Goku felt more in the flesh for me in terms of a flesh and blood living creature in this film more than any other, I think, due to the weight that I feel the three-dimensional aspect of the CGI is doing. And that's my answer. It's a mistake. But that's how I feel about it. And I have analyzed the shit out of this because people were asking me right away, what do you think of the 3D? What do you think? I go, I haven't seen it yet. And then I saw the trailer and I called Chris. I'm like, I think it's great. I think it's got some weight. I think it's really adds some, the bad guys seem even scarier. It's an interesting direction for the genre, and that may be the future. I mean, I think there'll always be a place for 2D animation. I think it'll be more of a style thing in the future, depending on what the art form lends itself to, or the show lends itself to. Because I think we'll always have 2D animation, but I think things that are epic like this might require it. Ding. I have finished my answer. There we go.
Falling out the top of the
I can see the skyline, 50 mile radius on my timeline. Ain't nothing on my mind.